Let's get the questions up. Shit, did I even put the questions on Dropbox? I think I did. Yeah, we did. We're good. What's going on, guys? We're here kind of in a different part of my house, even though technically it's the same part of my house. Last time I had the camera turned around the other way. Now we have it facing, into my kitchen. But what we got going on is kind of an Ask Me Anything video, though I think it's more of like a frequently asked questions video, because I think Ask Me Anything applies that the questions are coming live. And, well, these ones aren't coming live. These ones are questions that I've collected over the last couple of weeks that you guys have asked me, both in stream and on YouTube comments. And I'm going to answer them here for you. So get ready. So guys, I thought this video would be kind of fun to make and give you guys more of an opportunity to learn more about me, especially if you don't watch me live. A lot of you guys that do watch me live, some of these questions you might already know the answers to. You might have already heard the stories, all that good stuff. But for those of you who haven't, I think this will be kind of a fun video for you. So, I'm excited. Let's do it. So question number one, and I get this all the freaking time, by the way, is why do you always wear a hat? Now, am I wearing a hat right now? No. So I do wear a hat a lot, and I actually wore a hat a lot when I first started streaming. And the main reason, then at least, it was time constraints. I was learning to be a father then. And so basically what I did is I would take my showers at night before bed. And then I work from home. So when I woke up in the morning, I would just put on a hat, go downstairs in my PJs, and begin working. And that kind of carried over into streaming because I always started streaming after I got done working. And so usually when I streamed, I was wearing my pajamas and I had a hat on. And so that's why you guys saw me with a hat all the time, is just because I chose to take my showers at night. That was the easiest thing to do, because then I had time during the day to spend with my son and do all the things that you kind of need to do as a parent and get things done. So that's the main reason. And you guys will notice a lot more lately. You don't see me with the hat as much, but these days, if you see me with a hat more often, it's usually because I haven't gotten my hair cut. I'm really, really bad about getting my hair cut as often as I need to. And when my hair gets to that point where it's just a raggedy mess and I can't really style it very well or whatever, I just start throwing on hats until one day I finally go and get my hair cut. I'm really bad. I'm really lazy about it. So yeah, there you go. All right, another common question that I get is, Hunt Showdown your first FPS? No, Hunt Showdown is not my first FPS. Technically, my first FPS that I ever played was 007 GoldenEye on the N64. Now, I know GoldenEye back then, it wasn't like a competitive FPS, even though they did have a multiplayer mode. If you did the split screen, the split screen back in the day. But it was a first-person shooter. And so I played 007 GoldenEye, I played 007 The World Is Not Enough on the N64, and then kind of moving on to PlayStation 2, I played Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, which technically isn't an FPS, but has an FPS component to it. And by the way, guys, flex here, I was actually the #1 ranked player in Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow on PlayStation 2. That's right, that was me. But Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow online had an FPS component. So when you played as the spy, you were actually third person, but when you played as the mercenary, you were first person. So even though that's not technically straight up an FPS, it did have kind of an FPS component to it. And so that's why I categorized it there. And then kind of the other games I played on the PS2, I don't think were really FPS style games. So yeah, and then moving on to PC, I actually played the original Halo on PC. That's right. You guys don't know, the original Halo was on PC, and I played the hell out of that game. I put so many hours into that, and it was actually my first FPS on a PC. Then moving on to the high school days, I had a buddy with a Wii and an Xbox, and we played Call of Duty World at War on the Wii and Call of Duty Modern Warfare on the Xbox. And so I had experience with some COD games in that realm, and that type of FPS. And then when I went off to college, I actually did not allow myself to play video games when I was in college. And so I went about 4.5 years without picking up a controller or a mouse and keyboard and playing any type of video game. And side note, that's actually when I started getting into watching people on YouTube. But then after college, I graduated from college, I got myself a big boy job, and a couple months later, I built my own PC. And building the PC was more of an intent for a software development rig, but I also kind of built it to be, a little bit of a light gaming rig. And the first game that I picked up for that was Rainbow Six Siege. And I sunk about 1,800 hours into Rainbow Six Siege. Yeah, that's a lot of freaking hours. But I absolutely loved Rainbow Six Siege. And then after that, I kind of started getting into the Battle Royale scene. So I played some PUBG. And even though PUBG was third person to start with, they did introduce a first person mode. But I played PUBG and a few other Battle Royales before landing on Hunt. And you guys already know I've put an insane amount of hours into Hunt. I'm probably over 2,500 to 3,000 hours by now. Even though Steam doesn't show that amount of hours, Steam keeps reducing my hours randomly. That's a whole different story. But I'm well over 2,000 hours into Hunt Showdown by now. And yeah, it's by far one of my all-time favorite games that I've ever played. And yeah, then aside from Hunt Showdown, I've actually have put a few hundred hours into Apex Legends as well. And so that's kind of the extent of my FPS experience, I guess. All right, next question. How did you come up with the name MrSpwn? This is actually pretty suiting that we talked about Splinter Cell Pandora tomorrow. Back in those days, I needed to come up with a name, and I've always been a huge fan of the Spawn comic book character. And so I wanted to do something kind of like with Spawn or something like that in the name. And what I came up with then, back in my middle school days, was Hellspawn, HE11SPAWN. And that was the name that I had on Splinter Cell Pandora tomorrow. And then when I was moving up through the ranks online, I got noticed by the top tier clan, and it was called the Ivor clan or the Mr. clan, IVIR, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But they were a top tier clan, and they recruited only the top tier players. And they reached out to me. They wanted me to try out for the clan. I said, why not? At that age, it's really, really cool to have like this top tier clan reach out to you and want you to try out for them or whatever. And so I tried out for them. They accepted me, and I became Mr. Hellspawn or Ivor Hellspawn. Like I said, depends on how you pronounce it. I pronounce it Mr. But I became Mr. Hellspawn at that time. And then I think at that time I was ranked number 3. And then again, I climbed up to number 1. I'm wearing that flex out, okay? I understand. And like I said, when I went to college, I did not allow myself to play video games. And so when I picked up Rainbow Six Siege, I needed a new account and a new name. And I found it only fitting just kind of in the what word am I looking for? The nostalgia of it, to kind of have that name be related to my Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow name, because they were both Ubisoft games. And I didn't want Hellspawn, HE11SPAWN. I felt that was a little bit too childish. But I kind of wanted to keep that feel, and I wanted to keep the inspiration of Spawn, the comic book character. Like I said, one of my favorite comic book characters. And so I came up with the name Spawn, and I kept the Mr. part. And it was actually originally IVIR SPWN. And the reason I left the A out is because somebody else actually already had it with the A, and whoever that is. But yeah, somebody already had that name, so I took the A out, and that's how I came up with the SPWN. And like I said, it was originally IVIR, Mr., which was okay for then, but then when I decided to start a YouTube channel, it became a problem because a lot of people were really confused about the IVIR. And so what I decided to do is switch out that IVIR for an M and be MrSpwn with an M, and yeah, that's how I got my name. So the next question was, what advice do you have for Hunt Showdown beginners? I'm actually going to be doing a video in the near future that kind of addresses this question. I think I have some insight that I haven't seen on some other beginner type videos or tutorial videos on Hunt. But to kind of answer this in a really quick way without giving away the next video is you have to practice. Practice. You'll never be good at what you're bad at by never working on getting better at it. Did I just confuse you with that? You need to practice stuff, and the best way to do that's in quick play. Next question is, how old is your son? At the time of recording this video, he is 20 months old. That's right, he's almost 2. It's been insane how fast this last 2 years has gone by and how much he's grown. It's just absolutely crazy. After that was, how old am I? I'm 28 currently. I'll be 29 in February of this year. I know, I'm an old man, okay? The next question was, what camera do I use? So the one you're actually seeing me recorded on and the one that I use for my face cam and streaming is the Sony Alpha A5100, which in my opinion is one of the best big boy cameras that you can get for streaming. So if you're thinking about graduating from the webcam arena and wanted to get kind of a real fancy camera, the Sony A5100 is by far the best entry level, and I would even say it goes beyond entry level. I just think overall, with all of its features and its price point and everything, it's the perfect big boy streaming camera. Now the next camera that I use is my mouse and keyboard camera. That's a Logitech Brio. And then the third camera that I use is the one that's actually behind me, mounted to my ceiling, and it shows, you know, my whole setup and stuff on my B-rate back screen and that kind of stuff. That one is a Logitech C922. And the reason I have 3 cameras is because the first camera I started streaming with was the Logitech C922. I upgraded to a Logitech Brio, and then the C922 became a camera that sat behind me. But then I decided I wanted to step up into the big boy camera game, and so I got the A5100 for my face cam, and then I added the mouse and keyboard cam using the Logitech Brio, and then I kept the Logitech C922 as the rear camera, but I moved it from being directly behind me to mounted up on the ceiling to give kind of that more cinematic effect. So do you have a degree? Yes, actually I have my Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science, and I work full-time as a software developer. When did you know what you wanted to study? About the time I was 8 years old, my family, we got our first computer, and it was actually a hand-me-down from my mom's dad. And so my grandfather on my mom's side, it was his hand-me-down computer, and I was fascinated with it, and I loved to play on it. And one day when my parents were at work and my sisters were watching me, I may or may not have taken it apart and put it back together and fell in love with computers. And so I knew about the time I was 8 that whatever I did in life, I wanted to revolve around computers. And about the time I was in high school is when I discovered my passion for critical thinking and problem solving. And that's when I knew I wanted to do software development, because the types of problems you solve in software development are the types of problems I really enjoy solving. And it's kind of aligns really well with the way that I think and the way that I process things. And so, yeah. 8 years old is when I knew I wanted to do something with computers, and around high school is when I knew I wanted to do software development. So guys, that's going to be it for this part of the Ask Me Anything type video, but I will be releasing part 2 next week, so you guys can tune in for that. But yeah, once again, guys, thank you so much for being an amazing community, best damn community on the internet, and hopefully you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time, all right? Love you guys. Bye.